Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday weekly series. This is Commercial Radio Worldwide, the mind, the journey, the destiny. We continue with our series that deals with the do's and don'ts of streaming. We are at unit number 27 of 40 and conduct number 22 of 35. This is the mind and the journey, the destiny. As I said, we apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Let me remind you that our shows are based on our lovely principle that we call the idea. We inform and entertain. We develop and educate. We empower and support. We associate and network. My name is Sam Zimmer. I'm joined by colleagues George Mutenda Zamera, Rapula Mudivani, Divesh Motilal, and of course we're expecting other colleagues to join. We'll introduce them as they arrive. You can see Maynard Maisela is here. So they will greet you, tell you how they've been doing in the way of checking in, and then of course give us introductory remarks to the topic, identifying the subject matter experts, goal setting, and getting things done. This sounds like it's more than just streaming. It's about our professional conduct when it comes to getting things done. And of course, in this case, we also want to look at how do you know if the person that you are aiming to invite to your show is indeed a subject matter expert. Last week, we argued that that is relative, but we're going to talk about specifics today. Let me ask my colleagues to greet you, welcome you as well, because they are the co-hosts. I'm just holding the space. George, over to you.
Good evening, listeners. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're really looking forward to an engaging discussion. And please send in your questions. We'll do the best we can to answer them. And can I just say welcome to my co-hosts, Devesh, Rapula, Sam. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Great. And we have Maynard who has just joined us.
Maynard did well. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, George. You did already indicate how the day was by way of apologizing for not joining us last week. So I hope today you didn't have to rush anywhere and you are here in full peace, spirit, physical, and emotionally, in all 7 bodies of a human being.
Yes, fully here today, fully present.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, George. Let's hear Rabula.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening to the listeners. My name is Rapula Mudibani. I am based here in Bujaral district, where I'm situated between Rustenburg and Bratz. Whether you call me Madibeng or Rustenburg itself, you find me in both two cities or two towns. How was my day? I think let me start by last week. Last week I didn't have a voice. Let me hope today I have a voice. I had a long week flu. It only subsided, I think, on Sunday, and we had a funeral, a death in our family, where on Saturday I was expected to be in platform to speak, but I couldn't speak. But it's one of those little things which came in human beings as we grow up. I'm wondering why my immune system is so weak this year. This flu is coming to come and go. It doesn't want to come and go. It just decided to stick around with myself. How was my day today? It was one of the longest days. I don't know how to sort of describe it. I had one session this afternoon where I'm invited to come and be part of the coach of the youth, go and coach youth, especially entrepreneurs. It's very interesting. Maybe I'm looking forward to an interesting times ahead of us, where we speak with youth specifically on the business matters, and then let's see how can we create more industrialists and more entrepreneurs in this country. I think that's my day as it comes, Sam. and let me see how can we add value on today's subject matter. It's very interesting. When the president the President Cyril Ramaphosa started his journey, he said he used to take his hand up and show people watch that you start on time. But now it looks like he's fallen into a trap of starting late. But it's one of those little things.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rabula. Condolences. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. And yeah, we're glad that you recovered and you are in the business of talking, Rapula, so that voice must always be taken care of and polished because you are like the singers, artists. Without the voices, they have no profession. Thank you so much. And always proud, the citizen of Maliveng. Those who don't know where Maliveng is, am I right to say it's just before Sun City? Because everybody knows Sun City where it is.
It's very interesting. I think that it's on a road. It's the same place.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Rapula. Welcome to the show. We're looking forward to your contribution. Divesh, over to you.
Evening, Sam, and evening, colleagues, and a very good evening to the listeners. Divesh Motilal, resident DJ on Kometsa, as well as a graduate from the Digital Online Streaming Mastery Program. And just in terms of my day, quickly, Sam, another day of the salt mine, if I can put it that way, but very positive, trying to find solutions that government is experiencing in relation to service delivery and finding the right partners who are willing and able to assist in eradicating some of those challenges. So feeling positive about that and hoping to see those results emanate into real solutions on the ground. Just in terms of the topics, I just wanted to emphasize to our listeners that although we're focusing in on the digital online streaming and opportunities within the broadcasting space, the lessons that we're sharing, and in particular the ones from today, is definitely about character building. It's definitely about improving oneself, and in hope that you take that improved self and relay those lessons learned back into your community so that we could have an improved culture in terms of the environments that we live in South Africa. Thank you, sir.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Divesh. Welcome. As always, you sounded very positive from last week, and I'm glad that you have sustained that positivity up to today, and you are hopeful that there will be solutions for many challenges that we are facing at the local government level. And coming from you, I'm hopeful. And thank you so much. Looking forward to your contribution to the discussion this evening on the topic subject matter experts, goal setting and getting things done. Let's welcome Maynard Maisela to greet listeners and then also share with us how his days has been so far.
Good evening, Darisam. Good evening, colleagues. And good evening to our listeners. Well, as they were said, my name is Maynard Maisela, the host and the co-host of Kometsa, and Maisela Corporate Branding Director as well. Well, Darisam, my day has been a very fruitful day indeed. We had a few projects that we were busy with. So we no complaints that much. And today we're looking forward in identifying the subject matter aspects and the goal settings. So we're looking forward to engage and see how we can source these crucial people, which are called the subject matter experts.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And we are also subject matter experts in our own right, and we will want to hear from you as well as we start the discussion. How would you define or describe yourself as a subject matter expert? Let's use ourselves as a role model Let's welcome Margot, and the Franz Ramutla is on the line as well. Welcome, Margot. Over to you.
Good evening, Brasem, colleagues. Good evening, listeners. Today I had a very interesting day because I had to facilitate a meeting of the NGO in which I'm participating. And I want to declare myself a self-imposed subject matter expert because I hosted new organizations that are joining Tembisa Coordinated Welfare Organization, which is an organization that provide facilities for NGOs so that they come and render their services there. So we have new organizations. One is dealing with mental health issues. One is dealing with family issues. One is dealing with skills development, and one is dealing with after school care services for children. So I'm declaring myself a subject matter expert because I have to understand the goals and the mission and the objectives of each of these organizations. Because in all this organization, we are dealing with members of the owners of the organizations. I also want to declare them as subject matter experts. And we were setting goals for the future, the goals that will make those organizations have a conducive environment to render their services, and the goals that will enable those organizations to render services to the communities. Yes, it was a very interesting day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. Dr. Mutla. I can sense, I can feel the energy in you and the positivity in you that it was a fruitful day indeed. And what a privilege to hear it firsthand from you in terms of the mobilization of NGOs out of Tembisa to address many challenges in the community. The community of Tembisa must be very privileged to have somebody so committed to it since ever I knew you in Datiramut. And it's like you keep on going, you never look back. You love them so much. And that is good, really, indeed.
Thank you very much, Prasem.
Wonderful. Great. Yeah, let's look into the topic. This is a subjective topic because who describe who as a subject matter expert? I think it depends on what that subject it is that you're talking about. But I would like us to start by just looking at ourselves so far, having done the previous course on digital online mastery to now doing this the trainer course and having covered almost 26 units and 21 conducts. We should be coming close to being regarding ourselves as subject matter experts in terms of transferring these insights and awareness and knowledge around how you go about hosting a show, moderating a show, anchoring a show, or just being an active, progressive participant in a show. And to simplify it, let's just don't think too hard, but what will be the top 5 aspects that you will use to look at yourself as a subject matter expert? And there are no right or wrong answers. We just want to demonstrate what could be the things that the public will look at to agree that we are subject matter experts, and in this case, referring to the roles that we play on this platform and this show. Anyone who wants to give it a try, that will be helpful. You want to go for it, George?
All right, so, yeah.
Or you can use
So,
coaching. You can use executive coaching as well, which is a subject, and what will define you or
yeah.
describe as a subject matter expert, executive coaching.
So if I use executive coaching, it is a subject that I have. That's my day-to-day bread and butter, as it were. And so I'm coaching executives and leaders in setting goals, goal setting, creating pathways for them, making things happen for them. So by virtue of being immersed in it, there's the one side of it is the experience that you acquire through the doing. And then there is the study of the subject. So for you to realistically call yourself a coach, you must have some certification behind you, whatever that is that you have done. And one thing about the subject of coaching, if as I am and you are Sam, if you're a member of ICF or any of these other bodies, there is what is called continuous education. You are required to continuously educate yourself, and you are rewarded for your efforts in studying. So the doing, the experience, and the actual study make you the subject expert. So from a coaching perspective, so if you move that into the broadcasting, there is the doing. So all of us here have actually hosted the program. We have hosted programs. We have done good things. We've done bad things. We have failed in certain respects, but we've got some things right. And I think in both of those things are useful in achieving mastery. Because when you fail at something, you're able to relook and say, how did I get there? What can I do better to ensure that it doesn't happen again? So if I'm helping somebody, I will use the failings that I did as I started to help them not go into the same ditch that I did. So we did that as we did programs with you on the HR side. I did with Devesh on the business side. And so from that angle, the practice, yes, an expert. We also took us through this program on the theoretical side. And so we got theory, and we actually we were exposed to working with leaders. And as you know, the leaders that we worked with, if things hadn't gone right, they would pick up the phone, right, and say, listen, you guys are ruining my brand. So when you're going out to ask somebody who's a master at something, you're putting his brand at risk. And therefore, the effort you put is not only to save his skin, but to save also your skin. And so that is very, very important from that standpoint. I don't know whether that's helpful, what I've said so far.
Yeah, it's very, very helpful indeed, George. So if you were put on the pedestal to defend your argument that you are a subject matter expert, I think I will give you between 95 and 100 to have confidently brought facts to justify why you should be regarded as a subject matter expert. Indeed, starting with the education side, which gives you the theory, and then of course the practice and the experience. And you happen also to be implying that you have been tested in a real life situation by the people that will be critical of your intervention, as you mentioned, of your leaders. And and then you say that this is something that you do for a living, and you do it almost daily, and therefore you do also have examples of where you have failed and where you have done very well, And all those two come in handy when you are then subjected to take people through an experience.
Absolutely, Sam.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I like the fact
found
that you say that takes you to a mastery level, because I think if you are a subject matter expert, you're very close to being at a mastery, although mastery is a continuous state to achieve. Thank you so much. Yes, George?
So, no, I was going to say when I, because one of the things I do is also teach, and when I teach, the one thing I emphasize is the fact that you will fail, whatever profession you're pursuing, whatever business you're pursuing, you will fail at some stage, and the important thing is to understand that that failure is actually very useful, because it gets you to look back and say, what have I learned from this? And what can I do better next time? And there's nothing that teaches you better than an experience like that.
Indeed. Thank you, George. Any reflection on what George has just shared with us as a case study? And of course, also you can add your own preferred area that you want to use to argue it, Divesh.
Thank you, Sam. Yes, I can attest to the points that George has raised. It's important in terms of having a basis from an educational perspective. That's the first stance. And of course, having experience to back that up. In relation to actually being an expert, I would like to add that you can't be an expert if other people, not necessarily only in your sector of expertise, but also on a broader community level, having appreciation for your expertise. If you're an expert and only you know that, doesn't help anyone, and I wouldn't consider that as someone with expertise. That being said, again, another measure that you would have for a level of expertise would be that of what impact has you as an individual, you as an expert, made in terms of your sector. What are the programs, projects that you've delivered successfully? What are the measures of success that you could boast and brag about? So, depending, of course, on the sector where you're an expert, it could be financial successes that you can boast about. You could about publications that you might have done, depending on the sector that you're looking at. So there is other measures that we could use to also attest to our level of expertise. If we talk about the digital online streaming mastery program that Cometse had offered, one level again from an education skills development perspective, we've gone through and graduated from the formal training that we had received from Cometse. But over and above that, we've had experience in terms of training where we were hosting our own shows. But most important for me, Sam, is that we've learned along the way as we were teaching or learning. We taught each other as well, and we're continuously improving in terms of the skills we've attained. And to top the or to put the cherry on top, we are at a point where the program could receive its certification, which again is a attestation in terms of that level of expertise, that it's something that's quantified, qualified, and can be certified as well now, Sam.
Wonderful. I think you are bringing a control measure there, Divesh, to say that you need to have some sort of a control so that it's not just one-sided view by yourself of yourself that you are an expert. It needs also to be affirmed. You need to be affirmed by the people in the public. And I think that also speaks to the point that George raised, that we belong to a professional body, and the professional body subject us to certain standards. And then by them issuing certification and credentials, that also says that we have been tested against the same standard that everybody else at our level in this profession are tested against. So some sort of assessment. And I think, George, you could also go as far as, say, beyond teaching, you do also write articles. And then, of course, you also write books.
Yes.
Vesh does the blogs and our own very postings on social media. You do get the instant feedback in terms of people engaging with the knowledge that you share through what we will call content marketing, right? So it's not just claiming. And I think in that Ramutla, you are 100% right. You gave us an incident, fresh evidence of welcoming people into the organization today. And I'm sure they didn't want to walk away from you. They stayed engaged with you because they could feel the impact of your facilitation. Am I right?
Indeed, Pachan, there was a stage when I thought the meeting is too long, but I was encouraged by the fact that all of them were committed to the meeting and they were committed to contribute during the meeting. Yeah, let me make my input. Characteristic of a subject matter expert. This is a person involvement at COMESA, particularly myself. I had the opportunity to gather knowledge around anchoring the shows. Now I am participating in the co-hosting, and some years back we were looking at being educated about Lekgotla methodology. So one can safely say, yeah, we are gradually being subject matter expert. And this is the person who has the ability to translate research findings into positive solutions. A person who has the ability to engage on the subject matter. And I also want to confirm that this is the person who has the ability to write about the subject matter, be it books, journals, or different types of researches. Thank you very much. This is a subject matter expert.
Wow, thank you for that scientific definition, and Ramutla. That helps quite a lot, and it looks like we did not really go far away from those descriptors. Rabula?
Do you know, Sam, I'm becoming learned now. More to say that I don't know words to say. I'm just have to listen to the experts talking. So the only thing I can add here is the issue of as a subject matter expert, you should have a credibility and authority on the subject itself. And then the
Indeed.
other thing, yes, the other thing is you, as a subject matter expert, you should be able, in a capacity to have a problem-solving capabilities in that specific subject matter. So Ramut just mentioned in terms of analyzing the situation, identify the problems, and then provided some sort of a key aspect in driving that process or driving that innovative aspect around it. But key to me was the issue of credibility in the specific subject matter. So if you're able to do that and able to communicate that effectively, then you're number one in terms of subject matter expert. But what the three guys just alluded, for me, just to listen as much as I could and then grasp. But today I'm going to be a subject matter expert after this process, after this session.
Wow. Beautiful. I like the angles that you're coming from. And yeah, the credibility is very key. That goes together with the authority, right? You're the authority on the topic, on the subject. And then it looks like, having listened to all these inputs, there is no argument about it. Anybody that wants to come and subject themselves against all these indicators, they just need to tick the boxes and leave those boxes that they couldn't tick, and then take the measurement, the weighting, and then tell us whether they are subject matter experts or not. The one that is quite very interesting, and I like it. I actually left it out. Is the one about the research. So that Ramutla is bringing in. So there must be evidence. I guess that's what you are saying, that Ramutla, that you have done some work around this subject and you've written a research findings, or even a journal of some sort. You remind me of my short stint at the university at Gibbs, and spending time with these professors, and the debate is always around, if you say you are an authority on this subject, how many journals have you written?
Mm.
how many contributions have you made to the real journals, and not the ones where you just publish, where you have to be published. There has to be debate for you to get your journal through. And they will even use it as a measurement to say, how many journals this year have you published in how many reputable journals? How many articles in how many reputable journals? If they've all published, now it's a question of which journal is the top one. Yeah, but that's the deeper side of it. But I think the practice on its own can also give you a status as a subject. And I think we are also saying, George, that this is not a popularity contest. The fact that maybe you happen to be popular doesn't make you a subject matter expert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it is far from that. It is actually your output. What's coming out from you, and what impact is it having? That's how you test.
So what do you say? What do you say, Maynard, to in South Africa? In South Africa is a country with so many possibilities. Sometimes I used to get so confused, because you see so many political analysts emerging out of the woods, and some subject matter experts on electricity, on load shedding, on local on service delivery. And if you happen to be very connected to a platform, then you start being featured. But I don't know whether what we have just raised out today is ever being looked at as a measurement to say you're ticking all the boxes, therefore we are not claiming indeed you are.
Sam, what you just said is very interesting. Somebody once said, you go into TV, say something negative about whoever say that, you become a political analyst. Is there any classroom for that? Is there any classroom for that? Is there anywhere where a person can learn around the issue of being a political analyst? Because we expect you to be a subject matter expert.
Am I hearing you guys saying that the highest level of actually cementing this experience and expertise on these topics, even if we take the digital online mastery, is you could take it further, as Ramutla was suggesting, and even go and research it and produce some study on it. I mean, especially if you want to become a lecturer or a professor of it, but that's not really the objective. I'm just raising it.
Yes, you should do it, sir.
So your question is what, Sam?
I'm saying that it looks like there is no cap at which you say if you've hit this target, you don't have to take it further. And we are saying that it looks like it's an open-ended journey.
Okay. I think it's open-ended. I can tell you an experience of a gentleman I met, not very educated, but has been a farmer for all his life, understands farming like the back of his hand. I mean, you literally ask him about tobacco farming, and he will tell you all the problems, what needs to be done, etc. That's a subject matter expert. He doesn't have a degree or certification. And so I suppose for as long as he's doing it, you'll continue to learn and improve. But he's so attuned to what he's doing that even guys from universities will go to him to ask for advice. And so, there's no cap.
Yeah.
And it's also sometimes like with this gentleman I'm talking about, just the absolute love for the subject that he has.
So it's passion.
He's
Passion
got
is
such a passion for it, you know. You would read articles on it, etc. But it's not doesn't have university degrees or anything, but he's just passionate about it and understands it.
So let's bring this closer home now. You want to start identifying guests for your shows. Firstly, you have a particular show that you have put together and you're running it regularly. You know the objective, you know the things that guide that show. And then you've got the platform. And let's bring closer home. What must we look at generically, and then what must we look at specifically when it comes to before you even go and talk to potential guests, Divesh?
Yes, I just wanted to also touch on what George was mentioning. Passion for me is a very important aspect of being a subject matter expert. To a point in relation to online digital streaming, you do want to have someone who can have that passion. And when we want to talk about that vibration that we want to share through the host of the show from the guest that you would have brought on, you want that passion to resonate so that even the listeners out there can feel that passion in and it draws them more closer to listening in on the actual subject that you were discussing. That passion is very important as well, Sam.
Mm, mm, yeah. It's almost like the outcome of your state of being in that situation. And you express that energy, and that already gives us an indication that this is somebody that loves this subject. And if we bring them into the studio, they will energize the listeners. And just that passion. It's a very important indicator.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So let's look at. I mean, you're going to have a particular topic on a particular day within a program or a show that you run, and then of course that show is being streamed on a particular kind of a platform. Is there any are there any factors that we think we need to look at that has nothing to do with the topic that person is going to address, but has to do with the environment in which the guest is going to find themselves? I guess I'm asking an obvious question, but I want us just to distill it and to say, if we are on a platform like this where you're going to be engaging your guest on, these are the kind of capabilities that this guest must be able to display. Otherwise, you might just be disappointed before even you get to the actual topic itself. What will that be? Divesh?
Yes, Sam. For me, when we are looking at the show, it's important, as we would say, every module we deal with, planning is very, very important. And of course, we need to know uh, what our goals are, our objectives that we will be using in our show that we are sharing. And from those goals and objectives, it will also inform our decision in terms of what is the type of subject matter expert that we need to engage on, who we need to find, and what kind of method of knowledge sharing we would like to attain from that subject matter expert. So personalities comes into play, the level of passion, how that person can articulate in terms of sharing their knowledge and skills with our listeners. Those are the types of things I would start off with in terms of embarking on that journey of finding the guest. And if we were using a third party, as we discussed in our previous show, we would need to articulate those very clearly to the third party so that they actually do find a guest who's not necessarily only a subject matter expert, but in terms of what the goals and objectives of our show is, we get a correct fit and a correct match for our delivery and our best value that we could offer our listeners.
Mm. Mm. So quality is everything. And of course, the standard we set ourselves might just be so high that you don't find anybody. So how much compromise are you prepared to make so that at least you have somebody that is closer to what you are looking for?
If I can add my input on that specific point that you raised, Sam, for me, you got to be not too hard on yourself. Depends as well where you are in terms of your journey of becoming a master expert in yourself, in terms of you developing your show that you're delivering to your listeners. You have to, as George had outlined, allow yourself to make mistakes, allow yourself to learn from those mistakes. And yes, you might come across a guest which doesn't fit your requirements perfectly, and you would need to compromise, as you rightfully said. But as you progress and as you learn from your do's and don'ts that we are sharing, you will find that your network will expand, your opportunities for getting the right guests will improve. But it's a journey, and as your network expands, as your show becomes more popular, you will expect that your quality of guest and your level of compromise will probably improve as you go along.
Mm. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
George?
Yeah, well, I was going to say that when you're starting your own show, it's you doing a lot of chasing to try and find the ideal candidates. And so you're not going to always get it 100% correct. But as you progress, as the brand grows, you will find actually experts will want to be on your show. And when that happens, now you're able to be more strict with your own criteria, because now you're a brand. And as a brand, you need to maintain a certain standard. And the brand that you can't bring in to interface with your brand has an impact on your brand, and you have an impact on their brand. And so I think it's a journey. As you start, you probably are not going to get the best of the best. But as your reputation grows, and this is where doing things right at the start is very important. Ensuring that you're on time, you say what you do, what you say you will do. Folks, we're starting at 7 and we'll finish at 8, and you'll start at 7 and finish at 8. Setting those foundations correct so that people begin to know what to expect. If it's same show, it's going to be there at 7 and it will go up to 8. If there's a problem, he'll tell you, folks, we've hit a problem and we're trying to resolve it, etc. So you're creating that sort of brand. So yeah, it's very important. It's a journey, but always remembering that everything you do adds to the credibility of your brand.
Yeah. Yeah, and the type of guest that you invite to your show actually start defining your show for and you know I'm starting to enjoy these private people kind of platforms on YouTube. Even some of the broadcasters have now made that as a diversification of their offering. For instance, if there is a campaign, election campaigning, and people then package programs and they invite guests to analyze, and I've been just watching the MSPC and ABC recently with the the American elections.
Mm.
The people, these people are almost like daily packaging content that has been broadcasted by other platforms, but they enrich it so much that you actually don't even feel you no longer get enough value from the original show itself, but you get so much value from these ones who take it and stream it and invite various guests to comment on the original program. I don't know whether you have become aware of how big this streaming market is, where they stream the original program and package it differently. Of course, they acknowledge the original broadcaster, but it's totally different product afterwards because of the guests that they bring.
Yes. Yeah, the quality of the guest definitely helps to define your show.
Yeah, yeah. And that says to me that we are spot on in interrogating this, because if you are just going to ignore it, don't be surprised when then your show is defined in a way that you did not plan it to become. And that is if you chose to become an official streamer, because there are those who just visit once in a while, they will do it, but you can see that they are not really like, it's not their full-time work, but there are those who really are very, very religious about it.
I think for me the word intentional comes to mind. You've got to be very intentional about whatever you do with your program. Really, this is the outcome I'm looking for, and these are the things that I will do. Somewhere we will be talking about goals and goal setting and all that, and that becomes very important. I've set this goal. What are the milestones that I need to achieve, and who will help me achieve those milestones?
Yeah, exactly. As the favorite author of Ndadra Mudla always say, start with the end in mind. Stephen Covey, Ndadra Mudla. Yeah. So I think that takes us now to the next discussion, and there isn't exactly the point you have raised, George, why we want also to talk about the goal setting and getting things done. It's exactly the link that we want to bring in. Now that you have identified this powerful guest and you are now putting together the show, what guides you other than the type of a guest that you have identified? One of those, as you have said, George, is the goal setting. And what we want us to look at here, we want to start with the enemy of action being procrastination. Let's unpack that a little bit, what it is and how can we overcome it, and when, how do you know when you are procrastinating? There's also the 4 P's of goal setting. We'll talk about that. And then the improving motivation. We all need motivation, either from within or externally, for us to be able to stand up and do things. Time management is another thing. And I mean, think of these streamers, George. I mean, you know at a certain time in the day they will be streaming live, and they are consistent about it. They just don't change because they want to make sure that their followers know exactly when they go on air. And so that's where the time management comes in, and the discipline to stick to a particular slot and time. And then, of course, the tips for completing tasks, your productivity, and then, of course, managing the to-do list. Of course, another George's favorite topic, SMART goals. And how do we stand up when we have failed and try again? So yeah, let's talk about that. The topic of goal setting and the ability to get things done. Especially when you are inviting and targeting such high-profile people to be part of you. Ndadera Muta, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still with you.
Which goals drove your day today? Is there something you sat down and thought about it and identify certain goals, and have you achieved them, and how did you go about it?
Yes, the goals I set today was to make sure that I have knowledgeable people that will help me to lead the Chembisa Coordinated Welfare Organization, and also to set the goals together, because the goal is to make sure that the facility that we are occupying is used fully, but for the benefit of the community. And our long-term goal is to make sure that we contribute in the skills development program of our country. By so doing, we will be able to have knowledgeable people that will find jobs, that will contribute to a bigger picture of the country's goal of reducing unemployment and creating jobs. Thanks.
And it sounds very appealing, and it looks like it is up there, and everything else is driven by that desire to achieve those goals.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And now there is this enemy of achieving our goals called procrastination.
Yes, in order for us to deal with that, we have set a very short time frame for us to meet again, so that we move forward with the goals that we have set.
With that,
The enemy,
with that one, with that one same of procrastination, you need a coach George. Make sure that there's no delaying in anything.
Yeah, you need somebody to hold you accountable, right?
Yes, that's where the coach kicks in, you see.
George, as a coach, I'm sure you come across that where people say, agree with you in a session that they're going to be doing things. And then come the next sessions, they haven't done it.
Yeah. And, initially when I started coaching, it kind of would irritate me, but I've actually learned as I've gotten older. And it is that when somebody undertakes to do something by a certain date and they don't do it, it's not just the fact that they haven't done it. It's the meaning behind why they didn't do it. It might be actually it's a goal they don't like. It's misaligned. It's by not doing it, they are actually saying something. And so if we put together a program and we must get this aspect done, and actually for 3, 4, 5 sessions you're not doing it, then it is actually saying something. We need to sit back and go back to the drawing board. Maybe it's not the right target that we're choosing. Because you should, as Devesh has said, if there's a passion to say, I want to get this type of person to my, you really don't need people to push you. But if you find consistently that actually you really need a bulldozer to get you across the line, then I think you want to reevaluate and say, is it actually the right thing that I'm doing?
Or could it be also that you set unrealistic goals, George?
Yes, the goals are kind of misaligned to your capacity. So I want to do a program every Monday. Maybe I want to do a program every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind what you have, your capacity and all that. Yeah. But you will learn as you go. But the importance of Rapula's point is when you have an accountability partner, he's going to be asking, why isn't it happening? And that's very important, to have someone who says, why isn't it happening?
So we must always set up goals and pronounce them.
Pronounce them, right? And share them with somebody so that you're not the only one who knows about them. Because if you're the only one now, well, it won't happen.
You'll wake up middle of the night and tear the paper.
Change the deadlines.
Yeah. And yeah. So I think procrastination is the biggest problem. It's and I'm glad you are you are raising some important points there, George. You need to investigate why you don't have the energies to stand up and do what you said you were going to do. And there's some advices that they are putting forward here. I like the concept of eating that frog, which basically says that you need to start with the things that you dread doing. Do them first. And then you'll be left with the things you like doing, and those you are not going to procrastinate around. So in a way, they are saying that it's in human nature to find yourself procrastinating. Guard against it because it will rob you of your achievements. And one of those things, there's those things that make you hate the entire project. Let them get out of the way, and so that you are left with the juicy stuff and you don't have to struggle to do them. Then they go further and say that sometimes reward yourself for doing this thing that you've been dreading after you've done it. Then you enjoy the self-rewarding, and next time you want to do it because it's nice to reward yourself. Because as a human nature to celebrate success. But why do you have to wait for somebody to say, well done, if you can do it for yourself, George, with a glass of red wine?
Yeah. Well, the other way of dealing with procrastination is to find yourself a good co-host, like Devesh there. Then guaranteed the things will happen. Because sometimes also on your own, you think you have time when you don't. But working with somebody else, I think is beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, then the 4 P's of goal setting, they need to be positive. I think that is self-motivation. Also, the goal must be very personal. It must mean a lot to you. And as we said, that it must be possible to be done, and you must prioritize it. And I think this is another technique that we can bring in. If you know you're going to run a show next week, and you leave everything up to the day before the show, that means your priorities are mixed up, right? Or they are being challenged. So you want to do this show, you put a target date to it, but there are many other things that are also in line, and you prioritize them than this one. That means then this goal you are committed to is not really a priority. And if it's not a priority, why do you do it? Why do you commit to doing it? And that's a decision making. And if you don't have accountability partner, it's very easy to delay those decisions and not even take them. So I think it sounds like some of us are self-driven. It can never be a problem until it really indeed becomes a problem. If you think of these guys who are running their own streaming shows, nobody asked them to wake up and do it. They have a very strong internal drive. They do it. To a point where now they subject themselves to their listeners. They feel they're disappointing their listeners if they don't show up. Then it becomes basically your way of thinking, as you always say to George, in coaching. After a while, your clients start doing those things, and they undergo transformation. And 1, 2, 3, it's just a way of being. They can't even remember that at some stage it was a difficult thing to do.
Right.
Coaching is about transformation, it's about change. And the show can also be like that. You love your show, you are so committed to it that the day you haven't done it, you feel like something is missing. Especially if it's your income generator. It's beautiful, isn't it?
And I suppose also, as you say, you mentioned earlier that celebrate the little successes, because then that gets you to want to get back and do it. Celebrate the little successes, as opposed to when they happen, you ignore them. Motivate yourself. And always with any program that you start, you'll have 1 or 2 people who are your cheerleaders. Connect with them. They give you positive energy.
Yeah. Yeah. One technique, George, that we can talk about is that of reflecting and tracking the progress. Maybe doing journaling or something like that, and so that you are able to review yourself every day to say, how did I do today? Rather than just listing what you've done, you critically look at it. This is how much I covered. Could I have covered more? Or not? So, to a certain extent, Rabula, this talks to self-management. I guess if you speak when you speak to our young entrepreneurs, self-management becomes the starting point. So, what are the things that we need to take into account to make sure that we do what we said we're going to do when it comes to the show? I mean, if you think of how the A to Z of running a show, let's look at the entire value chain of from the moment you decided that you're going to do a show. What are the things that you need to have in your critical path that if you don't have, the show will not happen or it will be a flop?
Those are the important milestones that help you achieve your goal.
Yeah.
I think as you kick off, really, just to be that. Remember, we said the 2 weeks ago, we talked about the issue of clarity, being very clear about exactly what you want to achieve. Why am I doing this show? What am I trying to achieve? And then putting your milestones in. That's going to differ with the show, but understanding your timelines. Begin with the end in mind. The show is on Saturday night. What
Yeah.
needs to happen by Friday? What needs to happen by Thursday? What needs to be happening by plotting that pathway and giving yourself. We used to like to use the word fat, a little bit of fat, so that if it doesn't happen, you still have a bit of a wiggle room. So don't make those timelines so tight that if something goes wrong, then it throws everything off. Ensure that you have a little bit of fat. Creating a realistic timeline, maybe that's the word I should use. When you talk about smart goals, that realistic part of it.
And I can imagine the pressure when you have already committed a guest. That and inform the listeners.
Yeah, I think I don't know, Davis, you remember we had a surgeon who was to come, and I think Davis didn't sleep when at some stage we couldn't get hold of him. David, you remember that?
Yes, indeed. And we almost thought that we'd have to put our a backup plan into place, but eventually we managed to get him on board. And I'm glad that it worked out because he was a fantastic guest.
He was.
We would expect that he is subject matter expert in the space of being a surgeon, but he was showing us his subject matter expertise in the space of being a businessman as well as in terms of designing an aircraft, which is surprising. Yes.
Wow. I still remember the show. It was a brilliant show. Yeah. So there's some 4 interesting techniques which I think the 2 interesting ones is the urgent important metrics. I like that. And then the doing 80-20 rule. And then, of course, the last 2 is utilize the calendar and create a ritual. Let me talk to the last one, and then I'll leave the thread for you guys to just give your input there. I think creating a ritual, I will say, is equivalent to making it a habit, you know, and that again is like if you want to go to the gym regularly, you make it a ritual that if it doesn't happen, you feel like you did not do something that is expected of you by yourself. And I think, as again, I use the example of these streamers. I mean, you literally almost every day you get this pop up because you've got these notifications and it pop up, and then there they are. They've just completed the interview or the streaming, and some of them even you will see they've just released it. Maybe you are even the first one to be responding to it to show how instant, how recent it is. And when you are following a streamer like that, and you experience that kind of a thing I've just shared now, the bond becomes so strong between you and them. You're consuming without realizing that actually this person is feeding you, you know. And I guess that's why it's like sometimes you follow a musician, and every time they release a new song or they publish a new song, because these days releasing and publishing is different. I mean, when they take their music and make them available digitally online, it's really publishing. But as they do that, it pops up, and then you listen to it, and you see it has just been released, published an hour ago. It's that connection is what I will understand as a ritual. But let me hold it there, and ask you guys to talk to those first two wise time management techniques that you can use.
Well, do the agent things first, really, and then schedule your important stuff. What is urgent? What is important? Normally, when you're scheduling, you know this is going to come, this is going to happen, etc. So, agent is when your guy says, I might not make it. Can you find somebody else? And you need to do that first and get a replacement. So the agent stuff is always going to be there, but ensure that the important stuff is properly scheduled.
There you are. There you are. So whatever is urgent might not be important.
Yeah, it might be so urgent, but over an 8-week schedule of meetings, this is boom. It's urgent now. It won't happen again.
You procrastinated to a point that is so urgent. Now it must be done.
Now, you didn't eat the frog in time.
Yeah, yeah. And one example of that is briefing the guest. You leave it until the day before or the morning of the show. Now you have no choice. They have to be done, because otherwise going to have a guest rocking up in the studio and he has not been briefed.
It is not been briefed. Yes. So don't make it urgent. If you had scheduled it, you'd know, okay, so on this day I'm gonna sit down with this guy, take him through it, and that's it. Don't make it urgent, because it really shouldn't be an urgent matter briefing someone.
Yeah. But how many times we find ourselves running around on things that we could have done 2 weeks ago, and we just procrastinated. They are important, because if they are important, you must schedule them. But you didn't even schedule them. Then you wake up when they are due tomorrow, and they are so important. Now they are not only important, they are important and urgent. And then you end up not sleeping the whole night. And then come the following day in the show, you're not really fully present because you're tired, didn't rest.
But you know, these young people now, with all this technology around, they can help you. Properly schedule things that pop up and they send you reminders and all those things. It's really, technology has really come in handy. You don't have to remember them. As long as they're scheduled, they'll pop up for you at the time that you need to do it, and then do it.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that the successes and failures of us in many ways is related to exactly these time management issues.
Yes.
So it's a behavioral thing.
Yeah.
So that I guess running shows, it also touches on being organized. I mean, look, it can be very demanding, but if you're organized, maybe you can actually remove a lot of pressures there, Rapula.
I used to have a line manager early days of my career, and he was an Afrikaner. He used to speak to us in Afrikaans, and at some stage you get lost. He'll have this what he used to call himself Triple D, doing that leg.
Triple D.
Whenever, yeah, Triple D, doing that leg. I know, George, you are lost.
Not leg.
So his motto is, when you ever get a task in front of me, it doesn't matter how small, how big it is, you do it immediately. You'll be a better person off, yes.
Wow. That leg is immediately. Yeah. Certainly in a streaming business, time is a very important asset and it needs to be respected. So yeah, so those are the techniques. And then the tips for completing tasks. Yeah, these ones are famous. 1 minute rule, 5-minute rule, break up large tasks into smaller pieces. And there you are, George. Utilize technology.
Oh, that it's a savior, I'm telling you, technology.
Yeah. Take advantage of technology, and the rest is a question of then focusing on those that cannot be helped with technology. So yeah, and I'm sure from a coaching point of view, these are common issues that either they are brought to the coaching session as agenda items, George and Rapula, or you observe them as a coach, and then you in a coaching way you bring them up to create the awareness to your client that I think some of these things are avoidable. Here are some of the things I think you might have to think about.
All right. Yeah. Because unlike the big studios, they will have many people to do the tasks. If you're going to do your show, it will be you and your colleague. So you don't have much resources, so technology and stuff that really be useful.
Yeah. How have you felt having tuned into a show that was so well promoted and the guest so well promoted, and then it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the show, the guest is not arrived, and then you hear the host that we are waiting for so and so, he's running late, and now he's the main act, but he's running late. The show has started, and then the host start chit chatting, and then the guest arrive. He's so nervous and so tense, and you can tell that this is not because it is the package, but the package is being distracted.
Yeah. It's certainly very bad for your brand. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, people will understand, but they will not pardon you for that.
What will happen is that if when your next show, if you had 10 people listening, you probably have 7 listening because somebody will say, those guys, they don't keep time. It is a very difficult one.
It's a very risky business, George.
It really is a very difficult one, that because all too often the reason given is a genuine reason, and boils down so much to sometimes taking things for granted. There's traffic and you leave 30 minutes or 15 minutes to the show, whereas if you had given yourself 45 minutes, you'd have made it there in time. So traffic is a reality. And I think those are the things that go into the briefing. To say, if we're doing it online, that's great.
Yeah.
But if you have to come to the studio, give yourself at least arrive 15 minutes before. In fact, actually, the last time I was asked to,
I will arrive an hour before and go to the next door shop and have coffee.
Yeah, in fact, I was asked to do a presentation on one of the television stations. And they actually made a note to say to me, the show is 6:15. They say, please arrive by 5:45. And obviously it's because of these experiences that they've had with people.
Yeah. And remember, for the platform, this is it. This is the factory. This is what they produce. If you are not there, it's like a factory having no raw materials.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The easiest question always is to say, would you arrive late for your flight?
Certainly not, because the flight will not wait for you.
It will be gone. That's right.
I guess what we are trying to highlight here is the criticality of you being a guest in a platform, and the only guest for that matter. And as I use the example of you being a raw material, if you are not there, the plant will not produce. I think especially if they've promoted you so much, it could be very damaging to a brand. But man, these are the things that if you are the host or the host of the show, or someone who produces a show, this is the kind of stresses that the producers of shows go through. You get a call an hour before to say, I've got the emergency, I'm no longer coming, especially these high-profile guests. And then you get calls, and then people say, Sam, will you want to come into the studio and do a prompto type of thing? And then say, when? They say in an hour's time. What? And then you must know that they've been dropped by a guest. And in many cases, you are not going to step up to the expectations of the listeners. That could also be very dangerous for your brand, because now they no longer blame the person who wasn't there. They blame you for not filling the shoes that were not yours at first.
My advice is to any guest who is invited as second choice. Never go to a show without fully preparing, because you're damaging your own brand.
Yeah.
You have a brand and a responsibility to your listeners. When you talk, you must be prepared. So, because somebody is giving up their time to listen to you. So if you haven't prepared and they are giving up their time for you, what are you saying about them? So really, it's respecting yourself and respecting the audience. That's paramount in any of this communication business. Respecting your audience and respecting yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Rapula, you wanted to comment there?
Yeah, I wanted to say sometimes it goes back to the planning. Yes, there is a risk which may happen 5 to 10 minutes before the time. But at the time of planning, if I say to the guest, yes, the show starts at 6, but what we normally do from 6:30, we do the following things. We ideally should be here at 6:30 so that you can see if this thing fits, this does not fit. So make sure that you make yourself and the guest to be stress-free when the show starts. Those are maybe one of the dynamics you can put in.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I used to visit Murio at Power FM, and we will always, I will always be there, and they will let me into the studio, and then when they read the news, top of the hour news, I'll be in the studio. So if they start reading the news and you are still at the robot outside, you can be guaranteed that you are already late, because the show is supposed to start immediately the moment they finish reading the news. So rather be in the studio and be, like we always say, George, if you're going to be speaking in a conference and you're speaking at 10 o'clock, make sure to attend the slot of a 9 o'clock person.
That's right.
Right? Don't rock in when your time starts, because you are going to be a misfit. It doesn't matter how well prepared you are.
And it also gives you time and to take your breath, breathe, relax, have a cup of tea or a glass of water, and settle down, and then be able to present. You can't walk, run in, and in full speed.
Yeah, and that explains why we have organizations like Toastmasters, and you name them. Because business speaking is a very serious business. Go and ask Tevi Galafing. He is always talking, and I'm sure he can tell us quite a lot of some interesting stories. Or your friend in Tembisa, George.
Really, yes. He gets there in time. In time, well in time. Billy Selekane. He's well prepared, he's there in time.
And every time I hear about him, I hear so much positive thing about him.
Yeah.
Because of just the way he professionally take this, how serious he takes this.
Those are good examples to follow, those. Yeah.
Indeed. I mean, Tony Robbins. I mean, everybody will want to have Tony Robbins. I mean, if you listen to him talking about the personality and all that, even our very own Robin Banks. I mean, a boy from and where is he coming from? Just down the road here. He is all over the world. You never hear people say, this African from Africa. No, he's not. They don't even describe him as such. So I think you can go very far with this profession, starting with just being a guest at the shows. And what I like about the people of the world is that if you are good, you are good. They'll give you space. Just look at TED Talks, for instance. I mean, you get people from all corners of the world, and you don't hear people say, this one is not coming from the West, so I'm not going to listen to him. No. If you have a story and you are professional, you'll break through.
Absolutely. That's and that's key. But it also comes from ensuring, because the people who are listening, these days are very switched on. Let me tell you, and you can't pull anyone's leg. So when you're speaking, you're giving them 200% respect, and they'll give it back to you.
Absolutely. Wow. This topic is so entertaining, and I'm looking at time now. I don't know what happened to it. So yeah. I hope we fully addressed these two topics: subject matter experts, and then of course setting goals, and of course getting things done. Basically, we are saying that if we are going to work with serious people, you need to know what you want in terms of goals. And if you're going to set goals and you involve those people, you better have the attitude and behavior that of doing. And for you to be able to be doing, you've got to plan. You must be organized. You need to prioritize your things, and you need to take yourself serious, because your boss is your listeners. So yeah, good. Let me give you time to check out and reflect on what we have just covered now, and share with us your take-home, colleagues. This has been beautiful. I really enjoyed your inputs.
Thank you very much, Prasem. My take home is that I'm going to use today's information and utilize it in all as I engage with various guests in different settings, be it physical meetings or online shows. And this relates also with my aha moment. Yeah, today I received another set of the 4 Ps. But these 4 Ps relate to the other 4 Ps that are applicable in all the settings. The marketing mix of product, price, place, and promotion. These are very much related, and it takes me home to my social work practice when I was in course 1. The 4 Ps was the person with a problem come to a place and is assisted through a process. So
Wow.
all in all, today's session, I was at home with the session. I was able to contribute, I was able to listen, and the contribution of our co-host today were very, very much interesting and productive. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Ndadera Mutla. The 4 Ps of social work. A person comes with a problem at a place and is taken through the process. Wow, beautiful.
Yes, yes.
And then the new 4 Ps that we covered in terms of goal setting is they need to be positive, personal, possible, and prioritized. Wow. Lovely stuff, Rabula. I think there's definitely addition to your kitty there.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. It's definitely an addition. Hence, I'm saying today I'm a subject matter expert. I've just graduated now. Thank you.
Indeed, you are a subject matter expert.
Thank you, Mr. Rabula. Interesting indeed. Thanks very much. Divesh, you want to check out?
Yes, thank you, Sam. Intriguing conversations today. In terms of the takeaway for myself, important to select your subject matter expert by virtue of the impact that they've given in terms of their sector, in terms of their having qualifications can help, credentials can help, but don't overemphasize that element. You might actually find, as George outlined, a subject matter expert who is just so passionate and so ingrained. It seems as if he's grown into that subject matter expert. And also, somebody with a lot of passion can always help. And one more thing that I think is very important is that since you're in the digital online streaming area, someone who's got a social media presence can always help, because when you are sharing the program and wanting to get as much reach as possible, it always helps that your subject matter expert also shares his network with yourself. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Divesh. George, you have checked out, right?
No, I'll check out now. Just to say, I had so much fun today. It's it really is a good subject to talk about, and all these things we're talking about, time and all, they not only apply to when you're hosting radio program. It's really just your business when you're running your own business, keeping time, etc., etc. That's a hallmark of a true professional, whatever you do, and so. Yeah, I enjoyed today's program, and thank you very much, listeners. It's a pleasure to be part of this program. Thank you.
Lovely. We did. I don't know whether we lost Maynard or maybe he's listening from the public platform. I know that our friend in Paris, Ompile, is listening from his laptop. That's why he hasn't been able to join in the studio. But I know he's listening in the background. And then, of course, Emmanuel Njang is busy preparing for the kickoff of his conference in Gaborone on Wednesday. So that's why he's not here. And the others also apologize. They're busy with other things. But yeah, the podcast will be available. You go to insightsonlinepodcast.com. You will find this episode and you can listen to it again. You'll find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and many other famous platforms. The next conduct is going to be conduct number 23 of Unit 28, and that looks into the reputation of the guests. It almost sounds like risk management. I have a challenge in terms of time availability next week, but I'll address that internally with your colleagues. But definitely that's the next in line. So we'll let you know if we're having it on Monday or Tuesday or whatever decisions colleagues take, we will follow that. But it is unit number 28, conduct 23, reputation of the guests. So we're going to scrutinize the guests. This is a sensitive aspect of identifying guests, but it's very important to look at that, especially if the point that was raised by Rapula is to be addressed, and that is the credibility of the guest and the credibility of your show. Thank you so much, colleagues, for tuning in. That was Comesa Radio Worldwide, the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle we call the idea. We inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. My name is Sam Zimmer, and of course my co-hosts, George Mutenda Zamera, Rabula Mulivani, Divesh Motilal, Franz Ramutla, Maynard Maisela, and then of course Umpile Lepile, who's in France, couldn't join today. And then many others that are regulars who couldn't join. We acknowledge them and appreciate them being part of this journey. Thank you. Take care until we see each other again. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Good evening.